In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, The Sting. The Sting is a 1973 caper film. It's directed by George Roy Hill and a screenplay by David S. Ward. It stars Paul Newman as Henry Gondorff, Robert Redford as Johnny Hooker, and Robert Shaw as Doyle Lonnegan. Now, this movie tells the story of two con men who come together to set up a big score against a mob boss. And let me tell you, this movie is really, really fun. The movie was nominated for 10 Oscars in total, winning 7 awards at the 46th Annual Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. The film is set in 1936 during the Great Depression, and the movie starts off where we see Hooker and his partner Luther, who is an aging African-American man. Now, Luther and Hooker con a man out of $11,000. But what they didn't know is that this man that they conned was working for Doyle Lonnegan. Now, when that name is mentioned, people know who he is because he is a big mob boss. Now, Hooker finds out that Luther is getting up there in age, and Luther tells Hooker that he's retiring from being a con man. Now then, Luther gives Hooker the number to a friend, and that friend is played by Paul Newman, and that character is Henry Gondorff. Now, Hooker meets up with Gondorff, but Gondorff also has a backstory to himself because he's wanted by the FBI. Not only is Gondorff wanted by the FBI, but Hooker is also being followed by a dirty cop played by Charles Durning named Lieutenant Snyder. Now, the reason he's going after Hooker is because Hooker gave Snyder counterfeit money and is actually on his tail this entire time, from the part the counterfeit money is given up until the very, very end. Now, the title phrase refers to a moment when a con artist basically finishes the play or so forth, takes the mark's money. Now, if a con is successful, the mark does not realize he has been cheated until the con men are long gone and everything is done. Now, the film is played out in distinctive sections with old-fashioned title cards, which make the movie great and sets up each act in the story. And the title cards and the lettering are much so illustrations of the style of the old Saturday Evening Post. And for all you baby boomers out there who have seen this movie, I mean, I'm pretty sure you do know what the Saturday Evening Post is, with the title and the lettering and the art and how the writing was done. That's what the title cards in this movie are based off of. Now, the film is also noted for using ragtime music and musicians, so to speak, particularly the melody, which we all know when we hear it, The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, which was adapted for this movie by Marvin Hamlisch. Now, the music goes really well with this movie. It makes so much sense. But you know the Entertainer song, the music, when you hear it. And for its time, I mean, when the movie came out, it actually started putting Scott Joplin on the map again and made his music more relevant to the people in the 1970s. Now, the movie is 129 minutes long, 2 hours and 10 minutes. From start to finish, the movie keeps you on the edge of your seat with how things go, how a con works, how it shouldn't work, how to do research on the person you're conning, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, when to stay back, when to not stay back, when to actually play things out, and when to not get caught. And it's great because in the end it'll all play off, and if you want to make it big, but I do advise this is just a fictional movie about how things are done. Now, both Redford and Newman give great performances and are together once again on screen, especially when the two actors starred in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which was a tremendous film as well. Now, Newman gives a great performance as Henry Gondorff, but if you really pay attention to the movie and the story and how it progresses from the beginning to the end, this is more so a character-driven story based on Johnny Hooker, the character that Robert Redford plays. Now, he's more so front and center, and Redford is outstanding in this role. And if you didn't know, Robert Redford was nominated for a Best Actor award, and it's the only Best Actor award nomination he's gotten in his entire career, and it was for The Sting. Sadly, he did not win that year. He lost to Jack Lemmon for the movie Save the Tiger. But, I mean, if Robert Redford did win, it would have been a perfect cap off to a perfect, amazing movie. The movie would have won 8 Oscars instead of 7 Oscars like it did. Now, he plays the role very coy, but yet confusing, where you think he doesn't know what he's doing, but then yet you do know what he's doing, because he himself is trying to play the Khan in a way where, while the viewer is watching, you're like, okay, what is he doing? Is he playing Newman or is he playing Shaw? You know, is he playing both? What's happening? What Khan is he doing? Now, not only that, Robert Shaw, who you may know from Russia with Love, and for most of everybody, every moviegoer knows him as Quint from Jaws. Robert Shaw as Doyle Lonnegan is great in this, and he's the quintessential bad guy in this movie. You could say he is a top 10 bad guy in movies of all time, even though he has a very short amount of screen time. Shaw is in and out of the movie, but he carries a presence that is unmatched, that his eyes are just scary to look at sometimes, that he just gives this gravitas of emotion without even doing anything, which is really good. Now, the script is outstanding and one of the best of the 1970s, along with Chinatown and The French Connection, because for a movie in the 1970s based on the story and how things progress and lay on top of one another, you really have to pay attention and not miss certain things and certain beats and plot holes in a movie that is about cons and about a sting. I mean, no wonder it won an Oscar for writing, because it rightfully deserved it. Not only that, director George Roy Hill really adds to the movie with the solid edits and the title swipes and the panning up and down with how everything is going. But it's well done, well edited, because when you put all those edits together, along with the entertainer, the ragtime music of the 1930s and the Great Depression, it really adds so much momentum to this movie that it's unmatched, and it's so well done. There are a lot of twists and turns in the movie, and you have to really keep track of what's going on, but it's really easy to follow. It's one of those stories where if a con movie was made today, you would have trouble understanding, because so many stories are going in, interwoven with one another. This is one simple story that you can follow and understand. With the character of Paul Newman, we know his backstory, but then the story and movie is based and front and center for Robert Redford's character of Johnny Hooker, where he wants to run a con because he needs Paul Newman's help because of what happened to the character of Luther, the African-American guy who Hooker was partnered up with in the beginning of the movie. There is a lot more to go on with this story. Not only that, there are 2 scenes that stand out the most in this movie. It's a scene where Paul Newman's character plays cards on a train against Robert Shaw's character. Paul Newman's character is just sitting there really bashing it and, trying to play a drunk person, but he's trying to cheat and become a better cheater than Robert Shaw's character of Doyle Lonnegan is. Now, Lonnegan is just infuriated because Paul Newman comes in and just does this stuff, but it's really well done, and we understand the presence of the movie of how the card tricks are done. It's probably one of the most interesting card scenes in a movie ever, especially that has to do with poker. And when you see it happen, it's really fun, and you go like, holy shit, did that just really happen? If you've never seen this movie, then you'll understand like the moments of the twists and the turns happening one after another. Not only that, the other scene is basically after that train poker scene. Everything is a lead up to the very end, which is the ending where Lonnegan places a bet on a horse race, $500,000 on a horse race. Things happen, and I'm not going to give away the story if you've never seen it, but if you do know what happens, then you know the outcome of this movie and how everything happened. If you have not seen this movie, it's a must. I mean, revisiting and watching it was such a delight and so good that it goes to show that movies today can't stand up to what movies were like back during the era of the baby boomers of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when you had phenomenal actors, phenomenal writing for that matter, and amazing filmmaking, which is why back in the day when the Academy got films right for Best Picture, it rightfully won. I mean, The Sting won out for, I mean, it was nominated for 10 Oscars the year of the 46th Annual Academy Awards. Not only was it nominated for 10 Oscars, it was tied for nominations with The Exorcist, which is the first horror movie to get a Best Picture nod. It didn't win though because it lost out to The Sting, which if you do watch it, The Sting was the best movie of 1973. I mean, The Sting is a testament to that. It's a movie of the 70s where if you look at it, each year from 1970 to 1979 had a standout movie, and you could say, wow, this was the movie that was really, really good and garnered so many craziness that year. I mean, in 1973, it was The Sting, and as it goes on, you know, different years from 1970 to 1979, that entire decade had great movies. You can't just pick one. You could pick top three of that, you know, of those years, but I feel like the top three, and definitely top three, The Sting belongs in that category because it's such a great movie. If you've never seen it, please check it out. The directing, the writing, the acting, the con, it's so good. Now, a few years later, there was a sequel called The Sting 2 with Jackie Gleason and Oliver Reed and Carl Malden. But the thing is that was a sequel where it's noted as the first movie was so good and so amazing that the sequel was horrible and didn't make any sense at all. So if you have seen The Sting 2, just watch The Sting, the first one. You'll really be happy about how things are done. For me, The Sting gets 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this movie. I am a huge fan of old cinema, especially ones that are from the 70s and, you know, going backwards. I mean, cinema all around from the 1920s, from the iteration and birth of film up until now. I love film and filmmaking. So, like I said, 5 out of 5 stars for me for The Sting. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about The Sting. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? And if you didn't see it, will you be checking it out now that I reviewed it? What did you think about the pairing of Paul Newman and Robert Redford once again? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think that their chemistry was really, really good? What did you think about Robert Shaw playing the villain? What was, you know, confusing to you? If you think there's something still confusing to this day about the movie, did you like how everything was done? And do you think it should have deserved a Best Picture and the 7 Academy Awards that it won at the 46th Annual Academy Awards? And do you think that this movie stands the test of time based on directing, story, and acting? Let me know in the comment section below about the questions I just asked, and also in the comment section below, please leave your rating of what you would give The Sting. And I'll see you guys in the next review video.